Welcome to the Midwest Game Nerds podcast. I'm your host, John. Here with me today are Brian
Hey.
and Alex.
Hello.
Today, we're going to talk some game news and a handful of what we've been playing, including The Last of Us Part 2. But before we get to all of that, if you want to follow us on social media or see other places you can listen to or watch the show, check out MidwestGameNerds.com/links. The Midwest Podcast Network now has a Patreon. The Patreon is meant to benefit all the shows on the network. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month and help keep our shows alive and well. Check it out at mpn.bz/Patreon. And as always, we do appreciate your feedback, which you can send to MidwestGameNerds@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on Twitch, as well as rate and review us on your favorite podcatcher. Thanks again to Jason K. Gojo and Sidsa for their contributions to the Patreon. We really appreciate that. And if you are a Twitch, if you want a Twitch sub to us, you can use your Prime sub. It's free if you already have Prime. If not, that's cool. If you want to give us like actual money, that's cool too. But if not, we understand it's tough times here in the pandemic, post-pandemic world.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of post-pandemic because it's still happening, even though everybody thinks it's a hoax. But yeah, Alex, any bumpers for the network?
Yes, the Horror Movie Yearbook Boys talk. They're continuing their summer of Scream with Scream 2 this past week, and they also put out a bonus episode talking about Joel Schumacher, who just passed away this past week. Director of The Lost Boys, Flatliners, many other movies, and some Batman movies that weren't so good. So please go give those a listen. The Alienist recap will be back a little bit sooner than anticipated. They moved the premiere up 1 week to July 19th, and also they're going to air 2 episodes per week for 4 weeks. So I don't know how we're going to do this podcast anymore, but we're going to do it somehow, and hopefully Luke Evans smokes a lot of cigarettes. So check that out when that hits, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I've been streaming The Last of Us under The Last of Alex on Twitch, and it's also up on YouTube. Please go check it out if you want to see a Let's Play. I'm not particularly entertaining, but I'm playing through the game. So if for some reason you would like to experience the game that way, it is there for you to experience. So,
do you want to talk about The Last of Us Part 2 so far?
Yeah, I can do that. I'm mostly going to offer initial impressions.
You brought it up, so I figured, what the hell?
Yeah, I think so far I'm loving it. I'm about 8 hours in. It feels, honestly, I feel like it plays better than the first game even did, and I can't necessarily put my finger on why as of yet. The stealth feels a lot better. And just kind of the flow of the game is really good too. I don't remember much in the way of the first game of these sequences where they are literally just throwing so many enemies at you that you just need to run. I don't recall that ever happening. It's been a long time since I played through the whole game. I don't know if you guys remember any of that.
No, I don't remember.
But there's been a couple sequences so far where they're just like, you just need to get the fuck out. And they've been extremely thrilling, and it reminds me of some of the more cinematic sequences of, say, an Uncharted game or something like that. And that's been really interesting as well. Top-notch voice acting as always. They've got a lot of celebrities at this point. I think Shannon Woodward, who was one of the characters in season 1 of Westworld, Elsie Hughes is one of the main characters in the game. She does a great job. All the performances are awesome, and that's fantastic as well. It's got your normal crafting stuff like the first game did. You can make your weapons a little bit better. You can take pills to learn skills, which is not great.
Man, I wish that was a real thing.
I wish I could learn.
In the future, it will be. You take those nanomachine pills, and then all of a sudden, like, you can jump really high.
There you go.
I mean, I guess if you take Adderall, you can efficiently learn.
That's true.
You can efficiently clean a closet.
Maybe the Adderall is what allows Ellie to listen closer and hear the walkers from further away. I don't know.
What a skill tree, organizing a closet.
Midwest Game Nerds does not condone using Adderall unless you have a prescription.
Yeah,
some of us do. I don't really care.
The views of John Morrell do not reflect the views of the Midwest Podcast. Now, anyway,
yeah, you can abuse prescription drugs. Everybody else does.
I have a question about The Last of Us Part 2. Have you experienced any game-breaking bugs? Because apparently those exist, and I was shocked because they spent so long in this game, and they're really well known for like polished games.
I have not seen any. I have not experienced any game breaking stuff at this point. I've seen like there's only one time that I've been playing where there was a weird animation as one of the characters was crawling up onto something, and that literally was it. So I have no bad things to say from that regard. It does suck that there may be some game breaking bugs out
Yeah.
there. Hopefully, I don't run into them in the future. But
Yeah, a friend of mine was playing it, and it was like in an open world segment, kind
okay,
of
yep,
like pseudo open world. If she tried to walk past the specific spot, she would just like sink into the ground, and Ellie would just fall out of the world.
that's weird.
It was wild. Yeah, I saw a video of it, and like I guess that caused her to have to like reload way earlier in the game or find like a completely different way around that area.
That sucks.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
was shocked. I was like, wow. Because I remember playing like the original Last of Us. I played on the PS4 version of it though, and it was just like a super polished
I didn't.
experience.
Yeah, I didn't have any issues with the PS3 version when I played through it, and but the thing is that these open world sections are something that are relatively new for Naughty Dog. They
Yeah.
did it in Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, and then again here, and they're not like super open world. They just kind of give you a little bit more, a little less direction and a little more whatever you want to do at that time. Um, so maybe they have some issues with that a little bit, but thankfully I haven't run into that. Um, the other thing I was gonna mention, and I put a little video of this on our Twitter so that I could talk to it a little bit. There's awesome difficulty settings in this game.
Oh yeah.
I haven't tweaked any of them at all, but I think it's just a very good thing that they've done. So they basically have sliders for something they call challenge, which kind of adjusts the overall difficulty of the game. It's kind of your normal difficulty setting. But then you can adjust player settings, which means you can make yourself either more resilient or more vulnerable. There's you can set enemy behavior, so like you can tell them that you want enemies to be less aggressive or more aggressive. And then you can also set your allies, so there's you kind of interact more with allies throughout the game fighting alongside you, so you can make them more aggressive or more passive, so like they will start ruining everybody in front of you, so you have to do not as much. You can kind of change how sensitive the stealth stuff is, so you can make like enemies way more vigilant and like detecting you, or much less like, able to detect you. And then there's also like resources, you can make them more common or more scarce. And so you can kind of fine tune the difficulty of the game for you. If you're having trouble because you're really bad shot, you want to be able to find more ammo. That's cool. If you want to make it so that things die more quickly, you can do that. If you want to make it so you die less quickly, you can do that. So I really applaud them for allowing people to kind of adjust the way they want to play the game on a very fine-grained detail. I've never really seen that in a game before.
That's really cool. From like a developer standpoint, I'd be curious to know like how difficult it is to do that sort of thing. And like, is it the sort of thing where like if you increase ammo, like the ability to find ammo, like is it randomly placed, or is it like do they just already have that figured out based on like if you set the game on the easiest mode and there's a plethora of ammo, or like they're already set locations, or does it automatically like disperse them randomly? Like,
yeah, I mean,
that's really cool though in general.
Like you're saying, I would assume that it's kind of playing with the gradations that they have for their like easy, medium, hard kind of settings.
Because there's like 5 or 6 different difficulties, aren't there?
Yeah. You can go all the way from.
It's a spectrum of difficulty.
Yeah, so this is just allowing you to kind of bear it down and change things on a more granular level. Because if you're like, oh, I'm really bad at the stealth of this game, but I'm pretty good with the combat, then you can kind of tweak it so that you can be a little bit better at the stealth or things of that nature.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's awesome that they did that. Like I said, I haven't tweaked with any of it yet, and I'm having a pretty good time with it. I think the stealth is, I don't know if I want to call it easier, but it just feels like it feels a little more manageable in a lot of spaces. And at least like even when I tried to play The Last of Us, the first one again a couple weeks ago, I was having The First of Us. I was having some trouble with with the stealth in that case, and it feels like with this game it was just a much more natural kind of like, here's where people are spaced out and this is where you can break into the cycle to kind of kill this person and then you can move on to the next one, that type of thing. So that's really cool. The story's incredible. They've done a great job again with the actors acting things and on their lines and things of that nature, but there's also kind of segments where, like, I won't ruin anything here, but like Ellie will find a guitar and you can sit down with the guitar and use the analog stick to pick a chord and then you strum on the trackpad. So you basically play a song with her, and there's been a pop song and there's been like other songs that I don't know as well, and just like her kind of messing around. And you can also just pick it up yourself and switch through different like chord wheels that you can select with the analog stick to like try and play. Like there's been a lot of people trying to play like Red Hot Chili Peppers song on the
Yeah,
Red Hot Chili
that's what I
Peppers
was going to
subreddit.
mention. I saw a bunch of videos of people playing different songs.
Yeah. So it's interesting, and it's cool the way that they kind of work it into the story, and it gives you kind of this natural break of like, all right, I'm gonna sit down and not think about dying and how terrible the world is outside of this game. And so there's been a couple story beats that have been pretty surprising to me. I've been pretty I would say shocked, but I know that there's bigger stuff coming later supposedly. I know that some people were angry with where some of the story goes, and I have not felt any of that as of yet. But so far it's very good. I think I'm maybe like a third of the way through the game or so. And probably maybe a little bit more or less than that. I don't know. At 8 hours, I think I'm probably spending more time in places than most people do because I try to scrounge literally everything. But and then I also try to use none of my resources, so the scrounging is kind of useless. But anyway, yeah, it's very good. I would encourage people to check it out. And honestly, like with those difficulty settings, I think even if you had trouble with the first one, you can make this game a more enjoyable version of the first one for yourself, just by kind of fine tuning the things that you have trouble with. So check it out.
Yeah, I was gonna say that if those difficulty settings existed for the first game, that John probably would have finished it by now.
Probably.
Entirely possible. Entirely possible.
I still would like to go back and like try and finish that game. I don't know why, like I just can't beat that fucking whatever
Boomer.
they're called, Boomer.
Or whatever it is.
I think I only had an issue with one part in that game. It was like kind of a boss fight in a burning building. That's about all I want to say about it. But it was so frustrating.
Yeah, I can't really remember those things that well, but I think like even one of the things that was weird with me was there was an encounter where like anytime you run into what a new type of infected might be, it's always kind of unclear to me how that works. And I think at this point in time, it sounds to me like literally like I've had tooltips pop up that's like infected will not see your flashlight. So then I'm like, oh, cool. But then there's still a couple runners around that are basically like the zombies, like the normal zombies that can see you and will see your flashlight. And so I think the game doesn't necessarily do a fantastic job of kind of telling you up front, here's how you deal with these encounters, but there's a lot of like trial and error that does not necessarily work as well. It's not as enjoyable an experience as people might have with other cases, but I haven't really I wouldn't say I've had trouble with it, but at least like it caused me to die once, and then I was like, okay, I need to do something differently, and then I kind of figured it out. So like I don't know if with the Boomer that might be what is happening with you, John, but I also
My thing is like this is the sort of game where like you can't really pause. Like I mean you can, but like you when you're getting the tooltips, it's always in the thick of shit, so you can't fucking read the tooltips to like figure out what to do if it's giving you ones. And like that's the thing is like in the middle of this Boomer battle in the school gym, like I don't even know if I'm getting any tooltips or not because I'm so focused on like trying to not get killed.
Yeah.
Boomer battle.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I will
It is what it
say,
is. I'll go back to it, and I want to go back to it and finish it because I do really like the story. It's just a matter of like not being frustrated with that particular part.
yeah, that's fair. They
So-
do put all of the tooltips into like a tutorial section of the menu in the second one, at least. I don't think they did that in the first one, but I could be wrong. So that's nice, at least.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Hashtag Team Jeff.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother
Anyways,
thing.
it's a whole other mess. Brian, what else? What have you played? Anything special?
The only thing that came to mind when I was thinking about it before we started recording was a lot of PUBG, actually. I'm like re-addicted to that game for some stupid reason. Last week it went really well, but then this week we just got our asses handed to us like constantly. I don't really know what the deal is. It's like everybody good started playing again this week. I mean, there's not much to say about that game that it hasn't already been said.
Yeah.
Um, they did do a patch recently that changed some things up. Like they added C4, which is pretty cool. It makes a huge explosion, and it's so loud. And then they also like changed the damage model with the vehicles, and like you don't just blow up in a vehicle instantly when people are firing at it, and certain parts of the vehicle will shield you from damage better than other parts.
That's cool.
That's good.
So that needed to be done. Other than that, I did play the grounded demo. Like they only let you play 30 minutes of it, and it was only available for like a week. I think it's already over. I could be wrong though. But that was kind of cool.
This is
Like
the Obsidian game that we talked about from PAX. That is a Microsoft Xbox Game Pass game.
Yeah, I actually played the demo through Steam though. It's going to be
Okay.
released on Steam
Yeah.
as well as the Microsoft Store. Yeah, I mean it's got a really cool style to it. Other than that, nothing really sets it apart from the other like survival type games. It's like definitely it borrows most of its mechanics, I feel, from The Forest, even though I feel like not enough people have really played that game. But so that's not a bad thing though. That is definitely one of the better interfaces for building structures and stuff that I've
For sure.
seen.
Yeah, I like the Forest interface.
Are there any
But
cutscenes with Rick Moranis in them?
no.
Okay.
And what else did I play? I played Divinity Original Sin 2. I tried to get back into that again, and I progressed past the part I was stuck at. It was so dumb. I had to look it up online. Like I had tried everything in this area to try to get through this one door that was locked. But like it turns out the key that I was missing was literally right on the ground, like in a room, and I just didn't see it. But then I also found out there's a command, like you know how Diablo 2 you could hold like Control or Alt or something, and it would show the names of all the items on the ground to make it easier to spot them. Well, they have that in that game, and I didn't realize that was a feature, and that helped me spot the key immediately, along with like half a dozen other items that I didn't realize I could pick up. That game is just so fucking hard. It like it makes me mad because I feel like I'm pretty good at like tactical types of games, like turn-based ones especially, and that game just makes me feel dumb. Like I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I've had to look up tips. I've restarted the game 3 times because my party sucked, and like having like a good party structure is very important in that game. Um, but at the same time, like I want to keep going back to it because the writing's like great. It's a beautiful game. Um, the ways you can like tackle situations are super varied. Like there's probably like you start in this like well, not really start there. The second place you end up is like a fort and you're like kind of imprisoned in it and you have to figure out how to escape. and there's probably that I know of, there's at least like half a dozen ways to get out of there. So there's just a lot of choice in that game, which is super cool. Even to the point to where there was a door. Most of the doors actually are destructible if you don't have a key. You can just do damage to it.
That's cool.
But it really wears your weapons down super fast, so I just use spells for it instead. Yeah, I don't know.
I think that level of choice and like the importance of party structure and stuff that you're talking about is what makes me afraid to try a game like that. You know, like especially, you know, it's the same kind of the same issues that I have with like a Bloodborne and things like that, where it's like I don't know if I'm going to make a build or a team good enough to finish the end of the game. So it's like, yeah, I feel like I would be playing that game with like a guide open the whole time, and I don't necessarily know that that would be like as fun as it should be. But you know,
I beat a couple encounters and I was like feeling like things had clicked for me, and then the next location I was at, I just got my ass stomped everywhere I went,
damn.
and then I just gave up again. But I'll probably go back to it and turn the difficulty like all the way down for now until I figure out how to play it properly.
This is for casual players who just want to experience the story.
They make you like you have to think about if you have the high ground or not and shit like that, line of sight. It also
Yeah, you
like
have to
all the
take
elements in the
your
game, like
environment has to be taken into account, like on all levels.
yeah, yeah, like there's a synergy for the magic in that game. Like if you, for instance, if you use fire on water, it'll turn to steam, and steam can be electrified and shit like that. It's very complex, and but it's rewarding once you have like things set up to your advantage in a scenario, but it's just very difficult to pull that off,
Yeah.
especially when you walk into an encounter not realizing it's going to result in combat no matter what you do pretty much, because like your character has shitty speaking skills or whatever. And then all of a sudden you're in a fight with like a dozen guards and your party is, made of 4 people and they all
Right.
have more hit points than any of your guys. That's the frustrating part of the game. But yeah,
Right on.
definitely worth checking out. It's just be prepared to not ease into it like playing XCOM or something. It doesn't hold your hand whatsoever.
I've never thought XCOM held my hand. I'm just bad at it, probably, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Also, insert Alex didn't find the gun in Bloodborne joke
Yep.
somewhere in here. I was thinking about it, and then you continued going on, so I couldn't sneak it in there. But
what have I been playing? I've been playing a whole bunch of stuff. I started playing Horizon Zero Dawn.
hell yeah.
That game is it. Not only is that one of the best looking games I think I've ever seen in my entire life, but it also the story is really good and intriguing. I find the world to be so daunting and overwhelming because I feel like I'm not picking up on landmarks, so I'm having a hard time like traversing the terrain and like there I was telling Brian this before, like I keep telling myself I'm going to stick to the story quests and just do that, but then like all these other things pop up to do and it's like I don't like could I just turn all of that off? Like I don't want to do all the other stuff right now. I just want to focus on getting through the main game. Like there's just so much to do.
I think I
But it's
had similar issues to you because I don't really recall a whole lot of distinct areas in that game, and it's been a while since I played it, but it's hard to relate to in a way that Grand Theft Auto and other open world games are not as hard to relate to for some reason.
I mean, it's like right off the bat, like you're given like 2 side quests. Like as soon as like the game lets you kind of do your thing, you get like 2 side quests, and then it's like, okay, well, do I do the side quest or do I go and do the proving? And then it's like, okay, I might as well do the side quests because like I don't know if I can come back to those later, like because the proving is like one of the first big events in the game. And so you go and you do the side quest, and you go and you do the proving, and it pushes you out into this other part. And then like you have this, it's just like as soon as you get released to the rest of the world, you're walking down the path and you run into this guy who's like, hey, I got to do this other thing. Can you help me with that? And like, and you're like, no, I'm in the middle of doing shit, bro. Like, I don't want to help you, but you take on the quest anyways. And like, if you're a completionist, like I can be in certain games, like it depends on the game. Like Tomb Raider games, like I'm a completionist on those 100%. This game, I don't think I have the time or the patience to
No, you
complete
don't have the
everything.
time. Because I mean, I put, I think like 55 hours into maybe the base game, or was it the game with the expansion? I don't remember for sure, but I did like all of the extra stuff as far as like the proving grounds and stuff. I got like the full rating on every single one of them because I wanted to unlock all the weapons and stuff.
Yeah.
And I completed so many other things. Like I got the fancy armor set that you have to go through this crazy puzzle to get unlocked. And even even doing all that stuff, there are a bunch of side quests that I did skip because I just eventually was like, I just want to see like where the story's going. I can't keep doing all these side
Yeah.
quests.
But
Yeah.
that's the thing, is it just seems like if you did play the game as a completionist, you're investing probably 80 to 100 hours into this game, which is awesome. Like you're getting your money's worth no matter
Mhm.
Oh
what,
yeah,
especially considering that it's $20 for the Game of the Year edition on like the
yeah, that's
PlayStation
amazing.
Store. Like that the dollar per minute played is like totally worth it. Like it's incredible. But it's a lot of game, and it's very cool. It has a really cool art style. I love the machines, and the way they look is just so sweet. um the whole, even though I know some of the spoilers in the story, like it's still cool to play through it and like experience it. So I want to keep playing it. I plan on continuing it, even though Ghost of Tsushima comes out in less than a month, I think, at this
Oh,
point.
Yeah.
man, I'm
um
jealous.
which I know that's going to be another like 100-hour game
Yeah.
probably. But hopefully between like Horizon and Ghost of Tsushima, that'll carry me over into Cyberpunk, which
Probably.
that's the last game I'll ever buy for the rest of my life, I think. Um,
You
but
have to get it on PC since you
I
put
have
all that money
I did
into the
I already bought
PC.
it. I bought it on PC months ago. I
Nice.
pre-ordered it like back in I think February on PC.
Back in
So
1977.
yeah, in 1977, before I was born, I pre-ordered it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Horizon's cool. I've been playing that. I re-upped on my Stadia Pro account so that I could maybe consider playing PUBG with you guys because it does have crossplay with PC.
Oh, that's cool.
So I can play that from my living room if I want to, or my
It might
cell
actually
phone.
run better.
To be honest with you, so I bought the Division on Stadia because it was 50% off for people who have Pro, and since I already paid for the Pro for the month, I also had a $10 like gift card or something on
Mhm.
Stadia, like credit. So I bought the Division Warlords New York edition for $20. So it was basically whatever that is. That's like 60-70% off or whatever. So I bought that. I've been playing that the past few nights, and it looks better than my computer does, and it runs better than my computer does, and there's zero latency. Whatever Google's doing on the back end of Stadia, they are fucking ruling right now. Like they are, like the fact that people are still pissed that Stadia exists and that it's a thing is shameful, because it is fucking awesome. And Division
For
2
you.
Division
Work.
2 has crossplay with PC, which is awesome. So I can play Stadia like Division with you, Brian,
Nice.
if you wanted to. Um, so Ubisoft's been kind of at the forefront of making sure like all of their Stadia games are crossplay with PC, which is pretty rad. And again, PUBG is as well. You've got, Apex Legends is coming out, or not Apex. What is coming out for Stadia? Apex is coming out for Switch. That's something that they
Yeah, that's
announced
super
recently,
cool, I think.
and I think that's crossplay too to some extent. Um, but like this idea of like crossplay being a bigger thing is awesome. I picked up all the other pro games that they've got on there, like the Grid and all the Tomb Raider ones that are there. I started playing Destiny 2 again just to kind of see like where the hell it's going to throw me. And I honestly have no fucking clue what's going on in that game. but
I heard the
And
Traveler.
I play it more often than you.
the pyramids and shit, that whatever those are, like all that story shit that they're throwing at you right now is like really fucking cool if you're into the lore of that game, which I really do
Yeah.
like the lore of Destiny. I think it's the strongest point of the game, that it's the strongest point of Destiny that nobody talks about because it's so fucking convoluted to figure out how to get the lore. So
I like what they're doing this season, but I have pretty much given up on doing like playing with people because the game crashes for me all the time now. I get like this beaver code, error code, like all the time, no
weird.
matter what activity I'm doing. So it's kind of killed the game for me. And I look it up online and I find all the wrong beaver things. I don't find the answers I'm looking for.
When you get hit with the beaver, are you just like, damn?
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Oh shit.
Did I steal that from you?
Yeah. It was the gears were still turning and I couldn't. God damn it.
Sorry, man.
That's
My
all right.
dad joke game is
Yeah,
improved over the past couple
that's
of
it.
weeks, so
Your reaction time.
you got to have faster reaction. Those are those dad reflexes.
Yep.
You got to be able to grab the baby out of thin air, you know, like.
I heard the Traveler's an egg and it's got a pyramid inside of it.
I don't know if that's the
That's
truth,
possible.
but that'd be crazy because like
That's the
those
theory that I've
pyramids
heard.
are like all over the place wherever I'm at in this game right now. I don't know. I didn't really. I literally just kind of fucked around with it because the main thing I was testing was the latency and response time, and there's none. Like Stadia, I don't have the greatest internet in the world by any means. And honestly, the Wi-Fi in my house blows because all of the walls, like all the walls on the first floor are they're wet. It's wet plaster walls. They're not drywall. So it's like thicker and it's harder for like the waves to penetrate through. So I get really bad signal in the rest of my house. Like it took me 3 days to download Horizon Zero Dawn from the PlayStation in the living room.
That's crazy.
So like if that like it's not I do not have good Wi-Fi, and it like the Division running on my Sharp smart TV in the bedroom through Stadia, it looks flawless at 1080p.
Here's what I'll say is you saying that the Division looks better on Stadia than it does on your computer is exactly where they needed to be 4 months ago.
I agree.
Before you guys built new computers, yeah.
Well, and even like honestly, like if I would have booted it up at any point and thought this looks better than literally anything else I could play it on for any of those games, for Destiny, anything like that, then I probably would have agreed. But like I wish they would have been there a while ago. And not only that, but also like Brian's issues with even connecting to it. Like they need to figure out a better way to help diagnose.
I honestly just don't understand why I have so much trouble running it too. It didn't work the previous house I lived in, and it doesn't work here, right? Even though the internet is good here, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. So I like, you know, that's great. And honestly, if they come out and they're like, hey, this is the best place to play Cyberpunk, sweet, awesome. I would totally be down for that.
I need to test out Metro Exodus to see, like, I want to see some ray tracing in action on Stadia and like how that looks and how that plays. I haven't tried that yet, but I can compare that to seeing ray tracing happen on my computer because I tried out Metro Exodus on my computer after I built it, and it looked amazing, but I was only getting like maybe 30 frames a second with that game maxed out, which is super depressing considering the amount of fucking money I pumped into this computer.
From what I understand, like all of the RTX cards definitely get bogged down by the ray tracing.
Yeah, like
they just take a huge performance hit. I'd say only the 2080 Ti can average like 50, 60 frames doing
that's
ray
unfortunate
tracing.
Because one of the selling points of the RTX series was the idea that they can do ray tracing. Like,
well, they can. They just can't do it great, and that's
the thing. Sucks.
It does suck, but also like, you know, the 3000 series will come out soon, and it'll do it better than the 2000s did. And
I'm about to sell my video card and go buy a new one.
Well, and that's the thing.
Now that
at least
Cyberpunk isn't coming out,
at least you can
time to buy one.
Pull out your video card and put in a new one. It's not like your processor is necessarily going to be like a insane bottleneck for Cyberpunk at this point. Like, hopefully, but
Well, it's like I was telling Brian the other day too that I just like I need my system to be optimized. I believe there's like something going on that I'm not getting the full potential out of my setup right now, and I don't really know how to do that. So I just need to have him or somebody come take a look at it and figure it out. But that's neither here nor there. Regardless, Stadia is doing good things now, and people should pay a little more attention to it and not discount it as much. And I would venture to guess that you're going to see GeForce Now step up their game too. Not that it was bad to begin. GeForce Now did it right out of the gate, as far as I'm concerned.
it's
But
only been getting worse.
I know it. Well,
Yeah,
and
as they take games away.
Yeah.
well, a bunch of developers now that they've made it like an opt-in program, a bunch of developers are like, "Oh, okay, that's cool. Like now that you're asking permission, like then we're okay with it, but don't just throw our shit in there essentially." But so it's getting better. But until they get, AAA studios like EA and like, Bethesda and like some of these other bigwigs to like allow their games to be played on that platform, like they're kind of not worth it, whereas
Yeah.
like Stadia, you sign up for Stadia Pro right now, you get Elder Scrolls Online Tamriel Unlimited Edition or whatever. So you get like the Morrowind package and like all this other shit. And like that runs flawlessly on there too. Like it's Stadia's doing great things and people need to pay more attention to it, I think, because it's only a good thing to allow more people to play video games.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't tried any of the free tier stuff as of yet, and I feel like
I
maybe
forgot
I
that
should.
existed.
Yeah, I don't really know. I guess I'd still probably have to buy a game in order to do that, but
You do, but I mean, a lot of the games are discounted right now,
Yeah.
and they go on sale constantly. It's just a matter of like, you don't want to buy a game that you already play on your PC. You want to
Yeah.
buy something that you haven't played already. So, like you're not going to go on there and buy Red Dead on Stadia. You've got Red Dead on PlayStation. Like, what's the point in doing that? Like that makes total sense to me. So,
yeah.
But for me, like The Division is one of my favorite games. I love playing it, and actually, like I got through a part that I could not beat on my computer, like a couple months ago when I was playing it. I actually beat the boss that I got to on Stadia the other night and felt pretty fucking happy about it, because I'm like, I want to finish the Warlords of New York section so that I can go back to regular Washington DC and do a bunch of, because they've added a whole bunch of other shit to that game still. Like,
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, Stadia is doing good things, so everybody pay more attention to it.
Cool.
That's all. Let's move on to some news. Let's talk some news.
All right.
What do we got?
News. Let's start off with the quick stuff. There's a bunch of new games coming. One of them is a new Pokemon Snap coming for Nintendo Switch, something people have been asking for 21 years at this point.
I didn't ask for it.
I didn't say you did, but other people did. Honestly, I only ever played the original game in a Blockbuster at like their demo station. And
because didn't it had a thing where you could bring your memory card and like do extra shit that you couldn't do at home, right?
You could like get prints of your photos was the thing.
Yeah.
So
Can someone explain to me what the difference between a regular Pokemon game is and a Snap game?
You
Pokemon
go around and you take pictures of Pokemon.
It's a Pokemon photography game, and you can like basically it's like it's an on rails shooter where you're shooting photos of Pokemon and you're trying to get the best image of the Pokemon. There's like ratings based upon your shot composition and where the Pokemon is in the frame.
It's
and
an
whether
on-rail shooter where you roll through and mow down Pokemon with a chain gun.
See, that I would play.
It's like a Doom WAD.
It's Pokemon snapped,
yeah.
like ED at the
There you
end.
go.
Like you've snapped as a trainer and you're just murdering all the Pokemon.
Jesus. But anyway, new one coming. That should be cool. I'm down to check it out. I always wanted to play more Pokemon Snap, but yeah.
You did?
I did. I'd be down for it.
Cool. You have fun with that.
There's a new Star Wars game called Star Wars Squadrons. And
Yeah.
it is a first-person starship battler game.
Flight
Simulator-esque. I have heard, so this is going to be PSVR compatible and presumably, hopefully, also Index compatible. But either way, I have heard that the game is supposed to have full HOTAS support on both PlayStation and PC. So you can use flight sticks and stuff to actually play this game on console and on PC, which is awesome. But I didn't watch too much of the reveal at EA Play, but it looked like there were other game modes and things that sounded pretty sweet.
Yeah, there's actually two single player campaigns, like
Okay.
one for the Empire and one for the Rebellion.
That's rad.
And yeah, and there is
They're each 2.5 hours
5v5.
long.
They could be. It's only a
Maybe.
$40 game, so I am wondering about the length.
Yeah.
But there's 5v5 multiplayer modes. There's like a
They're both the length of
dogfight.
episode 9.
Oh
I hope
God.
not.
5v5 sounds sweet. Like it, and the thing is, it's all crossplay too, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
So like, if I can hop in on my Index and somebody else is playing on their PSVR and you guys are playing on your PCs or whatever, that would be so cool. So that sounds awesome to me. I really liked the mission that they had that they put on the first Battlefront game for PSVR. And I assume that this is just a more fleshed out version of that. So
yeah, I guess they have like a full array of upgrades you can get for your ships and stuff, and there's customization options, and yeah,
nice.
it sounds like when they first announced it, before I actually read about it more, I was a little skeptical. Like I assumed it'd be more like I can't think of the name, but the one that was super arcadey, I just did not like it. But this seems like it's more like a cross between an arcade shooter and like the simulator games like X-Wing and TIE Fighter.
Yeah, like where's
I
like
loved those.
where's the Star Wars game as a service that's not like the Old Republic or whatever? You know what I mean? Like where's like a Destiny style Star Wars game, or
That
even
would
just
be
like
awesome.
where's the game as a service that's like a flight simulator? Like why isn't there a Top Gun game as service where like you literally like you and your homies can like be a part of a squad on like a flight team like on a fucking aircraft carrier in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and you get to do like reconnaissance missions, and then there's like
You can play
flyovers and
volleyball
stuff, like,
games with each other, like
yeah, there's the
shirtless
volleyball side
in
game,
VR.
just like in Destiny when you play soccer, but you go play volleyball in your short shorts, like on the beach, like. But where like I feel like we're missing the
Top
market.
Gun, the game.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying Top Gun the game, but it's like you and your it's a fire team based game as a service, much like Destiny and all these other games as a service, but it's the gameplay is based on you being in like a fucking fighter jet. Like where is that? Like that would be sweet. Like I would love to do that. You got to go do like you get to get in dogfights and stuff, and like maybe you got to go blow up some other like aircraft carrier in the middle of the ocean or something like that. Like who knows? Like I'm just saying like that would be a cool game. Where is that? Instead,
I don't know.
they're investing shit in fucking Avengers by Square Enix. Like,
yeah. Well, more on that in a second. Star Wars Squadron comes out on October 2nd, which is very cool. Very soon.
Before Cyberpunk. Oh shit.
Yeah. What do you know? Yeah, Marvel's Avengers there's a big like gameplay reveal that happened this week. And I didn't really watch that much of it, but I honestly I don't care about this game at all.
I don't even know what game this is. What is it? Like what kind of game is it? What do you do? Like I feel like it's just a beat 'em up.
I don't know. I tried to watch those videos and I had to like skip around and it all just looked the same and kind of boring to me.
So the Venture Beat article that I had pulled up, I think, says Marvel's Avengers is more Ultimate Alliance than Spider-Man. So if it's like a third-person version of Marvel Ultimate Alliance, that sounds kind of cool. But honestly, I don't know. I'm just so the off-brand feeling of it because of the Marvel movies honestly makes me not excited to play it at all. And I just
it's like it's Amazing's Revengers.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look super cool. Like I don't know. I don't want to be that dismissive of it. It does look like they're trying to do like, oh, you've got loot and stuff and there's different
yeah, but
rarity.
It's the Square Enix version of buying cereal in a bag from Meyer. Like
sure. But I mean,
it's the same, man.
Some of the costumes make the characters look cooler than they did in the first announcement, and like I don't know, the idea of being able to like swap out different Iron Man weapons and things like that sounds kind of cool. And maybe I'll play it and I'll like it. Like I'm not necessarily against checking it out, but there's nothing that's making me like chomp at the bit for it. So I don't know.
I can't even bring myself to catch up on all the movies, so I don't think I care about the game.
Yeah. Well,
preach.
Next up,
Anyways,
Microsoft is shutting down Mixer and partnering with Facebook Gaming, which is kind of shocking to me because they put a lot of money behind that. They were peeling
Yeah.
away people like Ninja and other Twitch big names on Twitch, who apparently didn't really like their followings didn't necessarily follow them over to Mixer, which not super shocking, but clearly it didn't have the effect that Microsoft wanted because now they're like, okay, this is just Facebook Gaming now. But
well, they probably because of all the Twitch people that keep getting called out for being sexual harassment predators, like they were like, here, we'll put the liability on Facebook, and they just handed it all over to Mark Zuckerberg.
maybe, but I don't know. I think it's one of those things. It sounds like they made this decision to try and focus more on Project X Cloud rather than necessarily being like a big force in the streaming industry, which
Mhm.
is probably the right way to go. I think X Cloud is going to mean more to them in the future than Mixer would have,
Yeah,
unless
I was gonna say
Yeah.
something because they also like this is kind of a sidebar, but Microsoft, somebody discovered in Microsoft's wording somewhere that there are actually like two different Lockhart systems coming out. Like you have like the Series X and like the other Series X that has like no CD drive or whatever, but then there's also like two other ones coming out. And part of the speculation that I think I was reading is that those two smaller ones coming out are just like set top boxes for doing xCloud directly to your television,
Mm.
which is going to cut down the cost of people being able to like that's going to be like $100 Xbox X Series X that you just plug in, and you don't have to download games. You don't even have to like you don't have to you can just you pay your monthly fee of $20 a month, which they already have for Xbox S, like the
yeah.
Xbox One S. You pay $20 a month, you get Xbox Live, you get Xbox Game Pass, and you get the Xbox itself for $20 a month. Like you're you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. And once
I think
again,
that's what they're going to be doing with these other two systems that are possibly that are still under wraps. Like I don't know for sure. I'm totally speculating, but like that's my assumption is like that is they're gonna push the Project X Cloud thing to the console, to a console set top box, as opposed to being forced to play it from your cell phone only.
well, and I think part of what they were saying here is that they want to be able to put Project X Cloud in front of more people by partnering with Facebook Gaming. So basically, if you're on Facebook and you've ever talked about video games before, you're going to start seeing, sponsored streams by people using X Cloud to try and show people, here's what this thing can do.
That's
But
sweet.
I think the problem, the thing that I know will be an issue for a lot of people is the idea of internet. Like, do you pay for good enough internet to use this thing? And do you hardwire your internet to your TV in your living room or not? Because not many people do, and how realistic will it be for people to be playing Project X Cloud over Wi-Fi
Well,
on their set
when
top
Bill
box?
Gates releases his coronavirus vaccine that puts the nano machines in everybody and turns us into 5G towers, we won't have to worry about internet because everyone's going to be a built-in internet tower themselves. So you can actually just play xCloud from your brain. Like you don't even need a phone or a TV. You could just close your
Cool.
eyelids and
Can't
play
wait.
it. So
Once again, the views of John Morrell do not reflect the views of the Midwest Podcast Network.
coronavirus.
Twitch has banned Dr. Disrespect. This is mostly me going into being able to say that it sounds like, okay, I guess I can't say that because they haven't, nobody knows exactly why Dr. Disrespect.
He doesn't even know, supposedly.
Supposedly, yes. He knows why, but they haven't told him why, probably. But anyway, this is there's been a lot of high-profile Twitch bannings going on, mostly related to another wave of sexual harassment allegations that have been moving through basically all walks of life, from the wrestling industry to video games to streaming to YouTubers that aren't even related to gaming, all kinds of stuff like that. Some of the ones that are big in the gaming field include Chris Avallone, who is a prolific video game writer who was working on Dying Light 2 and has since Techland has cut ties with him at this point. And then also the director of the new Assassin's Creed Valhalla game was also stepping down due to some of the allegations levied against him. And basically, this is just a reminder to not be a fucking idiot and get consent for things. Talk with people about your relationships with them.
Be a
Don't
decent person.
don't be an asshole. Don't abuse each other. Be a decent person, as Brian said. And it's sad that it needs to be said, but clearly there's a lot of people that need to hear it, and hopefully none of them are the ones listening right now. But if they are, there's your message. So, also, fuck Dr. Disrespect. I've never liked him.
That dude sucks.
Yeah. So I don't have a specific thing for Cyberpunk. I don't know if I need
Let's
to really
just talk about how excited we are about Cyberpunk.
Yeah, so I don't
Yes.
if you guys want to start the discussion here, because I'm not excited for no, I'm not going to say that.
So CD Projekt Red did a their first episode of Night City. What do they call it?
Wire.
Night City Wire.
Night City
Yeah.
Wire. Episode 1 came out this week, and they showed off a new part of the game called Brain Dance, which is essentially like a detective mode / like Arkham, like the Arkham Knight VR thing, but
Mhm.
like made into Cyberpunk, where you can play. You're given like a timeline, and you can fast forward and rewind to go through a specific scene through a character's eyes specifically, and see all the things going on around them, because the way they explain it in the lore of the game is that each person with these cybernetics inside of them has this device that records everything around them at all times. So you're able to like dissect these things into figuring out what's happening in a particular crime scene or something like that. It's super fucking cool. It does seem like, Alex, I think you mentioned people online were complaining about how long it seemed to like do that brain dance sequence or something like that.
I mentioned that.
You did? Okay. So I don't care. That's cool as fuck. They built a whole other game mode inside of a game that's already huge. Like, that's sweet.
It kind of reminds me of Tacoma a little bit. I don't know if
Yeah,
you played
or
that, John.
even
But
Detroit Become Human.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Had sequences kind of similar to that.
Like, that's such like, yeah, it's a cool detective mode. Looks really cool. Again, it's called Brain Dance. The game itself, I saw a video comparing the 2018 footage to the 2020 footage, and holy shit, man, the way the game looks is fucking ridiculous. If you don't have like, I think one of the publications had to build like a $3,000 computer to make it run that good, but man, like, oh, it's crazy looking, man. And there's just so much information coming out about like character development and like just all like, there's a whole other world or sector of the world called the Badlands or whatever, where you
Yeah,
can
I didn't even really expect that. Like, I guess the city has 6 different districts, and the gameplay demo that the journalists were allowed to play, they could do, I think, anything they wanted for up to 4 hours in just one district of the city, and they said it still seemed massive. And then outside of that, they have the Badlands area, which is like an entire like rural desert landscape around the city.
It's straight up the beginning of Blade Runner 20 whatever.
2049. Yeah. I remember seeing the comparisons between the two when they started putting screenshots and stuff out.
Yeah, and I guess like there's 3 different origin stories, so depending on which one you pick, you could actually start your game out in the Badlands instead of starting in the city.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we did not mention the game did get delayed again, another 2 months from September to November, which is a bummer. But
I think they're just tying it into like the new consoles. I feel like
But they're
that's
not-
just all they're doing.
well,
I know it's not, because the updated version of it isn't coming out for like another month or two
Yeah.
after the console release. But I don't know, man.
I think it's beyond a month or two. I think they said 2021, which would be a month or two after November. But
2077.
yeah, 2077 is when Cyberpunk.
I also think
27
that's why like they still haven't released any pricing, because what if Microsoft just does a subscription model for like all their consoles? Like, I'm just throwing that out there.
It's possible, but
anyways, Cyberpunk. This game, it looks. I can't handle how good.
John, are
this
you
game
excited
looks.
for Cyberpunk? Because this is a big development on the Midwest Gamers podcast.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
Stop. thinking about it. Like I had dreams about it the other night when I was like, after I watched all the videos, because I watched like the Night City Wire thing, and then I watched like 12 different responses to Night City Wire. And then I watched like all the other things that came out after that explaining other systems and shit, like progression and like genitals and all that other stuff. Like,
Oh god, yeah.
so
There's a lot of genitalia options. It's quite interesting.
yeah, there's 4. You can have a penis that's circumcised, or an uncircumcised penis, or a vagina, or you can have no genitals at all. Like
I think you can
Straight
also have a
Ken doll.
combination of all
you
of
can,
that.
well, no, that you can have boobs and a penis. Like you can have boobs and no
It's very
genitals. Like
inclusive.
Yeah.
I'll probably spend a week on the character creator, I think, because I'm gonna go back and forth.
Before you even start the
Yeah.
game.
Like our first review of the game is gonna be the character creator.
Yes.
All right, guys, I put
John's
about
like,
20 hours. I put about 20 hours in the character creator so far.
I've spent
It's
100
con-
hours on the game, and I just finished my character.
And here's my character.
It just looks exactly like Brian.
And this is my character, and he's got a vagina.
Hey.
Oh man. No, I don't know. I told you guys before this. I've tried to watch the Night City Wire a couple times, and granted, it's been after I've been done playing The Last of Us at like 2 a.m, so I've been pretty tired when trying to watch it, but it hasn't necessarily hooked me. I'm also kind of like concerned about like did they give any indication about the brain dance thing, like how that, like, are you a detective in this game, or like is that just a certain kind of character you can play, or
I don't think they went into any of that. I
Okay.
assume it just becomes the sort of thing where like you're tasked with figuring out like who killed so and so, and then you have to figure it out by using brain dance in a particular situation.
or
Like,
maybe whatever tools you have, like interrogating
Yeah.
people and other stuff, but maybe using brain dance will be one of the better ways to collect information.
the more direct way of figuring out exactly what happened. And so like maybe it gives you different dialogue choices when you go to explain to whoever the quest giver is like what happened, I would assume. I mean, they came out and said like they specifically went into this game to figure out exactly every single possible way you could take to finish a particular mission. And one of the things they wanted to do was think, like, they had a team that sat down and like, what is the dumbest way that you could possibly finish this mission? And you can do that. Like they
Yeah.
actually developed that into the game. And like there's a whole spectrum of things you can do in between the dumbest thing possible and like the most efficient way of doing it, whatever, like however those combine. The game allows all of those choices. And so I'm assuming the brain dance probably just like ties into that sort of spectrum of choice. Like you are allowed to do the brain dance thing if you want to, or you can just like iron fist it and go in there guns blazing and like figure it out. Like I assume like one of the other things they talked about too is like, at least I think it was Alana Pierce said that someone asked about like NPC interaction, and she said it could be like you could walk up to an NPC who's like sitting there looking at their cell phone, and they'll mention you every once in a while, like, hey, why are you looking at me? Like, what's your fucking deal? But they'll still be like looking at their phone. And then eventually they'll just stop and look at you and like question like why you're staring at them. Like they have these like NPCs are like so developed on their own in a way. Like they all
I
have
guess
multiple lines of dialogue and whatnot.
a large majority of them, I guess. Maybe not a majority, but there's a lot of the characters, I guess, have their own like simulation loop, like
routines
their
and
life
stuff. Their
style,
Westworld
like
loop.
routine that they go through,
Like
kind of similar to
Westworld.
like Skyrim, how the characters are like scripted to
live
do certain
a life.
things.
Yeah, like you've got the
Yeah.
character that goes and collects cabbages and brings them back to the cart or whatever.
So
Yeah.
all right, so right now we need to predict what the arrow and the knee line from Cyberpunk is going to be. What are you going to hear 75 times per hour when you're playing the game?
I mean, I'm hoping that the dialogue's so diverse you don't hear anything like that, but I'm assuming
We'll
it's going to
see.
be something like, "Hey man,
I
give me some of those cyber drugs."
I used to be a
Want a brain
detective
dance?
like you, but then I got
I used to be a corpo like you, but then I got a taser in the knee.
Jesus.
Well,
Well,
I also read another quick little article that um, it was talking about like, is it possible to play the game like GTA,
mm,
like where you drive around running over pedestrians and just wreaking havoc? And I guess it is an option. You can pretty much you can play that way if you want, but it's probably not the smartest option. They said.
Yeah, I threw you that article, didn't I?
Oh yeah, possibly.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
assume you'll just be killing off potential quest lines and things like that
well,
as
no,
you
no,
Yeah,
run
that's the
people
thing. Is
over.
like they said that in every playtest they had people who would go into the game playing it like GTA, and oftentimes within a couple of like missions, they were like, I don't want to play like that. Like it kind of forced them, not forced them necessarily, but it made them actually make a decision to like not be a reckless piece of shit because of the consequences that happen down the line. Like I'm nobody's really said if you can actually kill quest givers and things like that, but I mean, I would hope like that's maybe an option, but
You could in
it
The
should
Witcher,
also.
couldn't you?
What's that?
Could you kill quest givers in The Witcher?
No, you couldn't.
No, but
Oh, okay.
there was a reason why
Yeah, well,
for that game. It's because they're like it's a world that comes from novels, and they have to keep certain characters alive for
Yeah.
continuity.
Okay.
right, and
And
Geralt wouldn't just walk into a town and murder the entire town as a character, so that was like a conscious choice to not allow him to do that.
Okay.
yeah, you can make a lot of moral choices in that game to an extent, but there's certain things that Geralt won't do.
Hmm.
You know,
Okay.
like
But yeah, like this, I'm just so excited for this game, man. Like I like I said, I pre-ordered it months ago. I'm ready to like upgrade my pre-order to like a deluxe edition or something, just so I can get all kinds of cool shit. I saw somebody on Twitter was posting all the cool swag that they gave all the journalists ahead of time, and I tweeted from the Game Nerds account to plead with them to give us a pre-release copy to play. Just help out some second-rate podcast to like, you know, let us play your game. We're huge fans, like blah blah blah. But then no one responded. So if anybody listening knows anybody at CD Projekt Red, just let them know. I'll do anything. I'll sign any NDA, whatever they want, man.
You brought up the fact that they were programming every dumbest possible thing you could do, and it just made me decide right now that I'm going to make my character look exactly like Frank Drebin from Naked Gun, and I'm just going to play the game like the Naked Gun the whole way through.
All of your shootouts will take place three feet away from each other,
Yes.
behind cardboard boxes.
Yeah, and we'll miss each other completely.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, I'm still excited for it. It just I feel it slipping through my hands every time there's a delay, and I still am not convinced the game will come out in 2020.
Stop.
And,
Come on, man. Have some hope.
I'm sorry, but yeah, I don't know. It looks very cool, and I'm excited to check it out. But
I believe I heard brief mention of some sort of drone too, so that should get you excited. I think it's like some kind of upgrade you can get.
Sounds good.
So
to me.
hacking drones, I mean,
right. Yeah,
that's all you need, right?
It's right up my alley.
Exactly.
I think I'm mostly just scared of like I remember people talking about The Witcher and The Witcher 3, and like in that game, the idea that you're going to sit down and read about the beasts that you're going to run into and learn the best ways to fight them, including like putting poison on your sword and things of that nature. And like the idea of this Cyberpunk game potentially requiring or allowing that type of depth is just like, it puts my indecisive brain on complete overload just thinking about how that game is going to work.
It allows for that kind of depth, but doesn't require it, is the thing. Like that's the best part of this being like a role-playing game and being based off of like a tabletop game that essentially allows you to make whatever decisions you want and know that there will be some form of an outcome. Like whether that outcome's good or bad is entirely up to you to decide, but you can tackle any situation the way you want to. And if you're the type of player who wants to do the brain dance thing and discover the best and most efficient way to tackle a particular task in a particular environment, that's up to you to make that choice. Or again, you could just roll in there with grenades and throw them behind the counter and blow everyone up and take the money and run. Like, it's all up to you how you want to do that. You can be like a wrecking ball, or you can be like a stealth assassin, or you can be a hacker who goes in and like hacks all the computers and makes everyone's brain tweak crazy like nonsense so that they can't pay attention to whatever you're doing. Like, there are so many different ways to tackle everything, and that's what I think is beautiful about this game over The Witcher, because like you were saying, like and even in The Witcher, you didn't necessarily have to coat your sword in poison. You could just like go in there and like strong arm it if you wanted to.
Depends
but
on what difficulty setting you have it on.
yeah, it just made more sense to like play the game that way, where you were discovering the weaknesses of the monsters, because it was more in line with the lore of the game and everything. But in this case, like, you don't have to worry about that stuff if you don't want to.
Okay.
It's giving you that option to play that way, though.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't know. There's just part of me that like needs to understand the systems behind the game, and it feels like there's a lot of systems in this game, and I already feel overwhelmed about it.
But that's the thing, is I think it would, in that case, I think you can play the game in one particular manner in which you want to play it, and that will help you start honing into the other systems at play, so that you start becoming more efficient with the system you particularly enjoy using. I think, like, I don't know, I'm not a game developer, I don't work for CD Projekt Red. I just know, like, based on what they're trying to do and what they've explained, I feel like you're given a lot of freedom, and eventually like you will find a path that you want to play as, and that's how you develop your character of V in the world of Night City, as opposed to like just being thrown, like they're only going to coax you in a particular direction so far in terms of the story, but like the rest of the game is all up to you.
Do they have an edition of the game that comes with a couple like therapist sessions to help you figure out how you want to play the game?
Yeah, they come with a discount for that new text message therapy thing that you can sign up for on the internet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to get that one.
I mean, you can also probably just click like random and if you're that.
Well, but it's not necessarily about like randomizing stats and things like that, although that is also a problem. But like everything.
Why are you so paralyzed by indecision?
I don't know. It's been a problem for a long time, but like I don't. It's one of those things where it's just an artifact of me being like, I want to be able to get all of my stats to 100 in Fallout 3 and be good at literally everything, because it feels weird to me to play a game and only experience certain parts of it because of the choices that I made, which is incredible from an achievement standpoint and development in their case. But like, just the idea that like, oh, I'd be able to do this thing I want to do if my speech skill was higher, or I had this implant, or blah, 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 but now I can't do it because I don't have it.
But that's the beauty of like tabletop role playing, is like you kind of have to make those decisions before you start playing. Like you have to develop your character in a particular manner, like with your dice rolls, like in regular Dungeons and Dragons, there's a set, you roll the dice like 7 times, and you write down those numbers that you get for each dice roll, and then you apply those to whatever statistics you want based on your race and your class. So like, for instance, my D&D character is a human ranger, so like I could basically, being a human means, and a fighter of sorts means, I can place those stats however I want. But if I were playing as like a gnome wizard, I would want to like place most of my highest number goes into like intelligence and wisdom. Like, so you want to figure out what sort of character you want to play ahead of time, and then just play to that character as best you can, and then develop from there. And the game will help you push you in the right direction when you kind of get thrown off, similar to how like if you again go in playing it like it's GTA, like the game will eventually like help you be like, I don't think I want to play this way anymore, so I'm going to alter it, and you're allowed that freedom to then pick up the game at that point in the manner in which makes more sense to who your character is. Like, you're not going to make, no one's going to make a character that is just a wrecking ball, I don't think. And I mean, if you do, I'm sure
I
the game
might.
allows you to do that. But like, I feel down the line, like you will make a conscious decision to like stop playing that way because you're not making the most out of your time in the world or something like that. Like, it would be way cooler to like figure out like, okay, I can burst through this door and like murder everyone in this room in like 10 seconds. Like, that would be the wrecking ball way of doing it. Or I can figure out a way to like hack into the computer system that's within this building and set up traps and shit. Like, you might be pushed to start developing those sorts of lines of thought to change your play style. And I think that's super interesting. I mean, it's just, it is very much like, thinking about, the more I think about this game, the more it makes me like want to play. Like, I haven't played D&D with my D&D group in a few weeks, and like we're going to play tomorrow, which is super exciting. But it's like that freedom of choice of like, can I do this? And like, normally at a tabletop RPG, you have to ask someone, if you have to ask the DM, like, can I do this particular task that I want to do? And what do I have to do in order to accomplish it? Do I have to roll a D20? Do I roll a D12? And then do I roll for damage if I miss my
Man.
attempt? Like, and it takes all of that away. And like, you, instead of asking for permission, you can just do it in this game. And like, the systems are all in place to give you the solution based off of the actions you take. And like, that's fascinating to me. So I can understand your worry about being allowed that freedom, but at the same time, like, I don't think it's as bad as you think it's going to be. I think there's
kind of I guess as I continue to hone this thought down, I'm kind of thinking from the standpoint of like, if there are certain activities of the game that I will enjoy that I don't know that I'm going to enjoy, and I also don't know how I need to set up my character to be able to do those certain things well, I feel like I'm not the kind of person who will start a game over 3 different times to try and figure out exactly what the right build for the things I like to do is, because there's no way of me knowing how fun it is to do something in this game yet, right? So it's hard for me to be able to, like you said, spend time thinking about how I want to play the game if I haven't yet been able to expose myself to how the mechanics actually work and what brings me enjoyment out of playing it in that way. That's my like biggest hang up about something this massive and free form in some aspects.
And I wish Zach was like listening to this, or I'm sure he'll listen to it later and he'll want to comment on this, because he's brought up like us playing D&D together.
Yeah.
And I honestly think you need to play Dungeons and Dragons or like some form of tabletop RPG, because I think you would run into these same sort of things and same sort of questions and like concerns of like, how do I do this thing? In this case with Cyberpunk, like, I don't think you're ever going to be limited to do anything.
Yeah.
It's a matter of like,
it's just that you will be better at it if you had been playing
what does
your
better at it mean? Like, if you're playing a character who has like 0 charisma and like they're dumb as can be, like, and the whole point of your job is to go and talk to this particular person to get this thing from them, but your character's too stupid to form proper words. Like, you're basically you're living out like what's that movie? Why can't I think of it? We're living it right now. Like
Idiocracy.
Yeah,
Idiocracy.
like you're Dax Shepard's character from Idiocracy, and like you can barely make a full sentence, but like for some reason the other person gets so frustrated with talking to you that they just give you the thing that you were asking for. Like, I can see that being, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. That maybe that's the case, and but it's just, I don't know.
I think you just need to play it the way you want to play it. Like, you specifically, I'm talking to
He doesn't
you,
know how he
that's
wants
the
to play
yeah
it.
that's
but
the
that's
problem.
the thing is like, you like play it as yourself. Like, don't try playing it as like any particular thing first. Like, do a single playthrough where you're just making a decision on the fly based off of what you as an actual person in reality would do in that particular situation, and see how that plays out for you. And then maybe figure out like, okay, like I don't want to play the game so square, like finish the story or whatever, and then start another one over and play as a complete piece of shit, and like play through the whole game, do all the side missions as like a total asshole, and see how that fares. Like, I
Well,
think
and I think that's the thing. Like, I will find eventually my natural way of playing the game, but I don't know if I were to do what you were saying, then my answer is that I would just be paralyzed at every decision. But I know that I will eventually find the way to make the game fun, hopefully, provided that it's a game that I will enjoy, and I don't really have any reason to think that it won't be, but I'm just curious about like if I'm missing something that will allow me to know how to steer myself. It's almost like you need like if there was like a primer or something like that I would be able to not read, because I can't do that, but like listen to. No, I'm just kidding. But like just something that will kind of show. And I guess it's like, oh, I need to watch more of these Night City Dispatches or more
Yeah.
of the gameplay and stuff like that. I just usually always shy away from that stuff because I don't really like spoiling anything. But
I don't think it's spoiling. That's the thing, is like they only just recently told you what the main plot of the game is.
yeah. Well,
Like,
and the thing is,
they just released that as part of the Night City Wires. Like, this is the plot of the game. You're going after this chip that makes you immortal or something like that. Like,
yeah,
I don't even know what the hell it actually is. But like,
the
none of
game's
it's being
experience
spoiled.
is,
They've only shown off portions of the first 4 hours of the game in anything they've released so far.
and that's cool. And it's like the if the experiences can be so varied, then the likelihood that you're like directly spoiling an experience that you're going to have probably isn't that big. But you know, it's just always something that I try to balance in terms of watching the stuff that they put out for these games and not, you know.
Are you gonna get it?
I'm gonna buy it.
Because I'm honestly I'm so intrigued to understand how you play this game now. Like I want to sit, like I hope you stream your playthrough, because I want to know, I want to see how you tackle decisions and things. Like I want to know all that. You can watch my playthrough. Again, the first 20 hours are all going to be character creator, and beyond that, who knows? Like all bets are off. But like I'm legitimately like interested in watching you play this game to see like what kind of decisions you make, and to like, you know, understand like your thought process in playing a game like this. Because I get, like, I watched you play Fallout 3 essentially, like
Yeah.
that whole summer you spent in your bedroom playing it. Like,
yeah,
I don't think you left except to eat a bowl of cereal and take a shit
once
like,
per day. Yeah, pretty much, for sure.
I hope it
So-
was name brand cereal and not that shit out of a
Yeah,
bag.
It was
from
Cocoa
Wire.
Puffs.
It was like Cocoa Puffs.
It was
yeah.
definitely Cocoa
It
Puffs.
was like
yeah.
all summer. He ate like 12 boxes of Cocoa Puffs like all summer long.
That's true.
man.
Jeez.
But
That sounds like you're depressed, maybe.
I
little
was
bit.
actually. But no, I don't. I mean, I can certainly stream. It'll be. I there's no way that I wouldn't buy this game. Like I need to be in the conversation about it at least, even if it
Yeah.
is ultimately something that I end up not liking.
sure.
But I'm excited to give it a chance and figure it out. I don't know that I'm not gonna like it. And you know, I didn't know, like I had these same concerns about Fallout 3 and I had these same concerns about Skyrim before I got them, and I ended up loving them. But then there's other times where I've played like Oblivion and it hasn't really hit for me, and things like Fallout 4 didn't hit for me. And so those are other bigger conversations, and maybe the failings there weren't necessarily that I didn't find the way to make the game fun for myself, but I feel like this game is so I don't have a reference point for what Cyberpunk is, because it feels like something beyond what I know video games are.
that's why I
Which
think
is
you need
awesome.
to play you need to play a tabletop RPG.
I've
like
done,
straight up.
We when the Rona started, we played one night. We played this alien RPG that Gojo had a copy of, and it was fun.
Ooh.
It was interesting, and I had a good time with it. But that was with like pre-made characters and things like that. I've never really gone.
We need to play D&D. Like we need to get a crew together to play D&D with.
That would be
I
fun.
have questions about this alien RPG. Can you be an alien? Or can you be like a face hugger?
No, I don't think so. It's mostly like
Damn.
it's humans against the aliens, and you're on a team with the humans, but clearly there's like alliances between certain people that like each other and don't and stuff like that. It was fun, but yeah, no, I don't know. We'll see.
No, that's cool. We got to cut it short anyways because I've lost 20 pounds in
You're
sweat
boiling
at this point. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm dying. Plus Megan's got to
mean,
go somewhere.
we're
So
we're at like an hour and a half. I wouldn't say cutting it short.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
good.
well, this conversation is very interesting, and I don't want to cut this particular conversation short. So I wish we would have just started it sooner, but that's neither here nor there. If you want to follow us on social media or see other places you can listen to or watch the show, check out MidwestGameNerds.com/links. The Midwest Podcast Network now has a Patreon. The Patreon is meant to benefit all the shows on the network. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month and help keep our shows alive and well. Check it out at mpn.bz/Patreon. Thanks again to Jason K. Gojo and Sidza for their contributions. We really appreciate it, guys. You're awesome. Our patrons are the best. We have great conversations with them. You too can join the conversation for $5 a month on our Patreon. You can jump in the Discord and talk to us at any time. Anytime, literally in the middle of the night. I'm up feeding the baby at like 2 a.m. I will talk to you then if you talk to me. It's totally cool. As always, we do appreciate your feedback, which you can send to at midwestgamenerds@gmail.com or in the Discord when you join the Patreon. And don't forget to follow us on Twitch as well as rate and review us on your favorite podcatcher. Thanks again to everybody for listening and joining in. Next episode, I'm not sure what we're going to cover, but I know Ghost of Tsushima is coming out pretty soon.
It'll be just before Ghost of Tsushima, so
yeah.
Will Paper
we'll
Mario be out?
I think that's the same day as Ghost of Tsushima.
I said before I would pick that up. Now I'm leaning toward maybe, but
Okay.
yeah.
I want to play both of
wait and
those
see.
games, so I don't know how that's gonna work.
Yeah, but we'll figure it out.
Yep.
In the meantime, if you have suggestions of what you want us to cover, feel free to send them to us on any social media platforms or midwestgamers@gmail.com. That is all for this episode, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.